This next one is a Volvelle. So I've already cut out the parts on my sheet. I just want to make note that this middle part, we do cut it like a little Pac-Man. And there are 2 paper pivots on the sheet. We only need 1. The other one is extra in case something goes wrong. And then this center hole here, we do actually cut out that center hole as well. And I like to just use my blade and then rotate the circle here. And you want to use a sharp blade because we want to get this as smooth as possible. We don't want like a raggedy hole because then the pivot will snag on it. I'm going to trim off that bit there. And then with this little paper pivot, we're actually just going to snip on the solid line up to that square, but we are not going to cut the dotted line of the square. So this works kind of like a little paper sandwich. Now that we have the pivot cut out, I'm going to fold 2 of these sides back so we end up with like a little bow tie. And I'm not creasing anything, I'm just kind of tucking it behind. And this is a little tricky to show, but I'm going to fold that in and kind of collapse it inside of itself, if that makes sense. Almost like a tiny rosebud. And it's tapered, and what that's going to do is I'm just going to push it through the hole that we cut on the middle section. So on the purple part, now we have a bow tie on one side and a bow tie on the other side. Now this is going to go right on top. And you can see that depending on the placement, we don't want to show any of that pivot. So I'm going to just adjust it. What I want to do is kind of make sure that it'll turn freely. If it doesn't turn freely, then you might have to widen that hole or maybe smooth out the hole if the cuts are ragged. But I just want to make sure that that turns freely like that. I'm holding this part to make sure. And if you tear it, then you have a second pivot. So I want to get that in place so that these are all these words are evenly spaced so that when this rotates, you won't be able to see the pivot at any point when it's over text. So I'm going to rotate that a little bit more. I'm kind of just adjusting it so that I have any of the text, you know, your choice, showing, and then none of the pivot is showing. And when I glue this out, I want to use just a piece of scrap paper and then just prop it underneath because I don't want to get any glue on the purple part because all that would do is just glue the thing shut, and that doesn't make sense. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the sides of that bow tie. I'm using my waste paper to make sure I'm not gluing it to the purple part. It's always going to move freely on the purple part. I'm going to put that right on top, bone that down, and then make sure that this should turn freely over the purple part now. And if it doesn't turn freely, then this is your chance to pry it off and try again. Now I have that lined up how I want. It seems to be moving okay. I am going to glue this is just a cover piece. So the only part that's moving is the purple part. So I'm going to, get that lined up over some text. I want my 8-ball to be on the top, or you can be on the bottom, whichever space you want your 8-ball. And the same thing, I'm going to just put some waste paper. I'm going to glue out that bow tie. I'm careful not to put any glue in the center, and I'm not getting any glue on that circle there. I'm going to line up my 2 circles. You can always trim this after if there's any white showing. And I'm going to bone that down. And now hopefully both black parts are stationary, they don't move. So just this purple part should move. And that's your Volvelle. Magic 8 Ball Volvelle.